I do support the project to the point of at least bringing us through the feasibility study to understand, the scope of the project, the amount of state funding we will get for the project, and hopefully to bring it to a point where it then is brought before town meeting for approval and financing of a project which, my understanding, could range in the $80 or $90 million range if we fall back to what the school building committee did back a while ago. My plan for financing it, and I believe in June they're going to ask for $1 million, is to use the debt stabilization fund, which the board created and created back when we received funds from the participating in the 40R of the Berry project. So those funds are there, and those funds will leverage the bonding of a feasibility study for the school.
Mr. Vino?
Yes, I do support the feasibility study so we can get some final answers as to cost. I think we all agree there is a need, but we do need to have a cost so we know what it's going to cost us, so that we can present this in a formal way to the residents of the town. It certainly is going to be an override question. There's no question on that. But it's going to be an education. We're going to have to educate the townspeople on the need for the new school building. I do agree with Bob on funding it out of the debt stabilization, and I would say that there's a definite need for this, and I do support the feasibility study.
Okay, and Mr. Prisco?
Yeah, thank you. I have done my best to try to attend every secondary school building committee meeting they've had since they re-energized themselves to start looking at a new school for the town, which I absolutely support 100%. They actually have MSBA involved, which is really big for this town. I hope people understand how important this is. The MSBA is going to actually help us from the standpoint of contributions. It could be in the minimum of 40%, maybe even up to 60% of the cost. So you heard an $80 million bill thrown out there. Having them involved, if we don't take this opportunity and invest in this feasibility study, we will lose out on getting that opportunity to have them help us invest in our children's future in a school that we much need. I disagree with both Mr. Messeri and Mr. Vino in regards to bonding the money. I think there is another way we can do it. Over at the Berry project, we still have land for sale. There's a huge portion of land for sale, and we need to sell it. We need to sell it now, okay? I've been talking with Brad Jones' office. We've done some research with Brad and his folks. Right now, there is actually even a negotiated deal with the current developer. If we sold that property, the town could walk away with about $680,000. To me, I would use that money towards funding the feasibility study and not use it towards funding salaries or anything else, because then we kind of fool ourselves like we're in right now, trying to fund from budgets that we don't have that money recurring every year.
And Mr. Screamer?
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great opportunity for the town to have the potential to build a new middle school / high school. However, I just don't think that the appetite is there right now from the taxpayer. I don't think that the town has made the necessary steps in terms of spending, whether it's $40 or $50 million on a high school without having the proper infrastructure to support that high school. I know that the current high school has a lot of problems with the septic system. It's continually failing, and they're continually spending money upgrading or fixing the system. I think the town should really step back and look at, what they need to do first before they can, put up an $80 million project.
Okay. And Mr. Messeri, do you have another minute if you'd like?
I would like to disagree with Mr. Prisco on this one. The town doesn't own that land. The state owns the land.
Yes, that's right.
Half of the land went to the Lincoln Properties, and the other half of the land remains in the hands of a sale and purchase agreement with Mr. Gutierrez. And I believe that runs out in 2012. So I don't know how the town acquires the land to sell when we don't own it.
Mr. Vino?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Messeri 100%. We cannot sell something we do not own. You just can't do that. It's against the law. We would have to acquire that property. We would have to buy it to sell it. Thank you.
Mr. Prisco, now.
Yes. Maybe I used the wrong term, but the property is for sale. The developer has the first right of refusal. What we can do is help encourage that sale. Yes, the state owns it, not us. There's been already a predetermined negotiation already done. But what we walk away with is 20% of that sale. And that's why I mentioned the number, $685,000. We get that money, okay? Put aside the words about selling the property. The property is for sale. Yes, you're correct. The state is in control of it. But we also reap a benefit of that, 20%. Wilmington also gets a portion of that sale as well, because some portion of the land is in Wilmington, okay? But don't lose fact, if we let that opportunity slide, then we could use that money to help fund this feasibility study, because if you guys keep borrowing money for that, then we can't borrow the money for the infrastructure that we need for wastewater, okay? And then we can't borrow the money that we need to build this school. And then we also have that $30 million unfunded liability you need to think about. We need to stop borrowing for things like that. In the feasibility study, we have to sell now.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Screamer, you have 1 minute too, if you'd like to add to
Yeah,
that.
I just want to touch briefly about conversations earlier about cost savings and bargaining and taking away from the union employees. And, you know, here we're sitting here talking about raising $1 million to have a feasibility study for a new high school. I just don't think that this is the time to be spending that kind of money when I think that there are more important things on the docket.
Okay, I'm going to go on to the next question. I have 3 questions here on trash and recycling, so I'm kind of going to combine them, and the question's going to go to Mr. Vino first. Do you think the existing trash services are a fair cost, and how do you feel about pay as you throw, and how can you increase recycling? So if you take those kind of 3 together on that one subject.
The first one was the fair cost. What
Do you
were the
think
other
it's
two?
a fair cost, and then what do you feel about pay as you throw and encouraging recycling, which of course would encourage recycling? Okay.
Okay, thank you. The cost of the trash is something that the Board of Selectmen yearly, we struggle with this, because right now, everyone is paying a set fee. And we have some users who are very light users. I happen to be one of them. But, so this is a very hard issue to really nail down. Do I think it's fair? I would like to see something different, but I'm not sure exactly what it would be, I will be honest with you. As far as the pay-as-you-throw, we had that in the form of stickers at one time in town. And there was numerous problems with that, all the way up to people counterfeiting the stickers, all the way up to some residents ripping them in half and putting a half on one bag and a half on another bag. And just people putting them out without stickers, and after a time being, the trash people got complacent and they would just pick up anything. So that really did not work that good. I'll move on to the recycling. I think the recycling is fantastic. I got involved in it myself just a few years ago, and it's amazing the amount that you can recycle, and I think it's a great idea. It saves the town money. I would encourage everyone to recycle. Ed McGrath and his committee has just done a fantastic job, and I would encourage everyone to do that.
And Mr. Prisco, on the subject of trash?
Yes, I think it's the best deal in town. I really do. I love the ability to walk my trash to the end of my driveway and having it picked up. I think the way they control it, they do an excellent job. What I pay to have that done, I don't think is unreasonable. Can we do better? Yes. Where can we do better in the recycling, you ask? I think one of the ideas that we could do to help continue recycling, because Ed McGrath and his folks have done an amazing job. An idea of mine would be, if we didn't have to separate, I think you'd get more people to put more recycling out there. I think because you're telling people to put it in different bags and different buckets in their homes, I think they don't take the extra 2 minutes to do that. And I think if we can find a way to allow them to put it all together in one bucket, I think we'll get more people to recycle more, and our trash costs should go down.
Mr. Screamer?
Yeah, I'm very happy with the trash pickup in the town and the recycling pickup. I don't know how much more you can improve on that type of situation. I think that the contractor that they use, I think they do a fine job. I mean, when you call the town and you have an appliance that you want to put up, they're usually pretty prompt, and they come down and they pick it up. So I think they do a very good job.
And Mr. Misery?
I'm in support of the existing system. We tried pay-as-you-throw. It was difficult to manage. Joe's mentioned some of the issues that came forth as a result of it. When we went to a flat fee, we had other issues of people complaining that it wasn't fair that their neighbor had 10 barrels out and they only had one. However, recently, we imposed a barrel limit, and that seems to have made a significant difference in terms of getting more people to recycle. Because clearly those people with 5 or 6 or 7 barrels worth weren't recycling. I think as we move into this coming year, I believe that we are going to have mixed recycling as they change over to a new contract and a new disposal site. So I wouldn't change anything. I would continue to support the recycling committee and would ask everybody here to remind their neighbors to recycle.
Anything to add, Mr. Mino?
Yes, I would just like to inform the public that we do have what we call commingling recycling. You do not have to separate glass, plastic. It all goes into one bin. The only thing you do have to separate out is your cardboard. So you don't need 3 or 4 bins. Throw it all in one bin. It's called commingling, and they sort it out. So that is in place now.
Anything to add, Mr. Prisco? Or
No,
Mr.
my
Springer?
understanding is that the paper has to be separated from the plastic and the bottles, so that's why I mentioned I think it'd be great if we just combine it all together.
And Mr. Screamer?
I have no further comment.
And Mr.
Nothing
Misery, any
to add.
further? No? Okay, so the next question's going to Mr. Prisco first, and it's the old favorite. How do you feel about a split tax rate classification, residential versus commercial?
Oh, that's just unfair.